Hey guys, Justin here. This is going to be the first and probably the only rant video that I make, because really the only thing that can get me this riled up is the Racecraft on iRacing, because right now in 2023 the Racecraft on iRacing as a whole is not good. So today I just wanted to talk about what is going on in iRacing, why there are so many wrecks, so many cautions, so many incidents, what is going on. But first, I want to shout out Ben at Labroca Sim Racing because he made a video pretty much on this same topic a couple months ago, and I just kind of want to echo a lot of what I hear from him on the road side of things from what I see on Oval as well, because it is arguably a bigger problem in Oval than it is on road, and it's a worse issue than it has ever been in my opinion, and it's only getting worse. And first off, for those of you who say that I'm on my high horse for this, of course I'm on my high horse for this, because I have been sitting on iRacing for 2-3 years at this point above a A-Class 4.00 safety rating for pretty much the entire time. I think the entire time. And when I see people who are dropping into C and D class through the truck series all the way down below, that's just like there are incidents for each one of those safety rating hits, and that's going to ruin people's experience every time it happens. To give you some context, I race mainly ARCA, which has no cautions, which means that you always get a long run and there's less incidents in it than anything. And that's the main reason why I do it. I like driving the ARCA car, and I like a guaranteed long run because I hate parading around. I hate 3-lap runs followed by 5-lap runs. And with all of that, I have about a 1.5 incident per race ratio over my last 2 years on iRacing. Whereas there are pro-level iRacing drivers, Coca-Cola Series drivers, with 6 average incidents per race. And it all starts with the example that the top level guys set for everyone else. It all trickles down. The best people in top split will set the example for everyone else. And then those people, when they maybe fall down to second split or whatever, they'll set the example for people in those splits and so on and so on. So when you're racing and you are one of the people who are an example for the iRacing community up top, and you are having 6 average incidents per race, that is not just ruining that race, you are ruining iRacing. I'll bring up some evidence, okay? So I took a data set from New Hampshire C Fixed on Monday, the last day of the week when everyone should already know how to drive the track, how things work there, and I took every single 3K SOF split from 2022 and 2023. And I have found between those data sets, over 8 races per data set, there were over double the cautions in 2023 than to 2022. Now that's probably extreme. It's probably not that bad across the board, but that gives you an idea. When you have double the cautions, you have half the amount of actual racing. And when you have half the amount of actual racing, a lot of people are not going to want to show up to these races. But okay, I will admit, it's not all the people's fault. I think that the people have to be the solution regardless. And I think that the people are only somewhat at fault. The other thing that has caused a lot of this to happen in iRacing is the changes to the physics of the cars. In my opinion, making the cars more draft heavy and draft dependent between the cup car and the truck specifically, that has caused a lot tighter racing, which puts people into those situations where they can potentially make a move to cause a wreck. You'll be hard-pressed to find a restart at pretty much any track in Cup or trucks specifically that don't fan out to 3-4 wide before turn 1. And it's ridiculous. Like, I guess it's kind of like that in real life, but you don't have netcode like we do in real life. You can't approach these races exactly the same and expect there to not be wrecks. And they do wreck in real life anyways. So that goes to another point I have. Real life setting an example as well. I talked about the top level iRacer setting an example. Well, now we have people in real life setting an example that you have to go win everything. Win or you're in. That's the mentality in real life. Well, guess what? That carries over to iRacing too. Not just in the Coke series, because now that they're winner in, you see some pretty crazy moves now that I don't even want to get into. But it seems like people don't value anything besides wins now in any sort of race, regardless of what the stakes are. And that leads to another reason why I think iRacing is facing this issue, and it's because I think that the skill pool is becoming very, very wide, wider than it's ever been. I think you go out throughout the history of iRacing, at the very beginning there were only really a select few people who could be considered at the top level. Then as you go along, this sort of 4K to 5K level kind of widens and widens and widens, and now you can have races with like 3,000 or 4,000 strength of field with most people that you have never even raced before or seen before, because that's just how many people are becoming talented and becoming good. And that's great. That's awesome. But the problem is the majority of them just don't know how to run 15th anymore. They all expect to be winning. They all expect to be up front. And when they are in the mid-pack, back of the pack, you name it, because maybe they're having a slightly off race, or there's just too many good people in the race, there are so many desperate moves in these official lobbies. And then you can take that attitude to the lower splits too. 2K drivers are better than they've ever been. 1.5K, 1.0K drivers are better than they've ever been because the level of iRacing as a whole is just shifting gradually and gradually up. And so those expectations of people who are used to being one number, even though the overall skill level has been shifting, when you expect one thing, it leads to a lot of conflict and a lot of overdriving and a lot of desperation at all levels, not just top split. And that's something that you see throughout various streams, videos from people that are not just in top split. There's the same stuff going along. And funny enough, the cleanest racing comes from the people towards the bottom splits, because as long as they're able to wheel it around the track and keep it off the wall, keep it out from spinning, they know where they're at, they know their limit, and they stay within it. And that is more than pretty much any other split can say on iRacing right now. I'm recording this the same day that the Spa 24 is going on in iRacing right now, and like 20% of the field was out within the first hour because everyone's trying to win the race in the first hour in a 24-hour race. I'm recording this in the same week that somebody in Coca-Cola series just doored the crap out of somebody for a win and just pretty much destroyed them, no Racecraft involved, because they needed a win to get in. Heck, I'm recording this in the same week that Max Verstappen drove through an access road to wreck somebody intentionally, and so many people are defending it. He deserved it. Oh yeah, the guy, they have a long beef, he deserved it. Well, you know who didn't deserve it? Everyone else who was involved some way in some form with that accident. The people that were obstructed, the people that got damaged from that incident. There's more people in that race than you and your enemy. And that's why all of this retaliation stuff has never been allowed, because it affects more than you two. I mean, I guess racing as a whole is a selfish sport. It's you in a car. Like, it's not more alone and isolating experience than that. But when you think about the big picture of what iRacing is as a service, where does iRacing get its value from? iRacing doesn't get its value from its content. It's an engine started from a game in the 1990s, and a lot of the graphics are from 2008, and the physics, they're good, but there are other games that are cheaper that have pretty much the same, just as good physics. What is the value of iRacing? The value of iRacing comes from racing against other people. So when people are destroying the value of that, what is the value of iRacing anymore? I don't know. I mean, I'm saying this from a perspective from a guy who races one ARCA race a week now. I might join a couple leagues because that's fun, but I don't have the desire to race in these races anymore where I just know that I'm going to be pacing around for half the race. And I could be running open. That's a whole new experience for me, and that's something that I could very well jump into. But I know that a majority of people who are into iRacing, getting into iRacing, they rely on these fixed series for their experience. And so we can't just say, oh, do another series, because that is the series. And when we destroy the series and just tell people, oh, go somewhere else, how are we going to expect the game to grow? How are we going to expect to keep our user base the same way? It's maddening to me. I could tell people to stop driving like idiots, but the people who drive like idiots don't care. They're watching this, they don't care, they're laughing. Then good for them. Good for them, great. But I guess what I want someone to get out of this is, if you're on the fence and saying, man, these guys are all driving like idiots, why don't I just start driving like an idiot, because they're getting rewarded and I'm getting screwed. I just implore you, if you are tempted by that, just don't drive like an idiot, even if other people are and they're getting rewarded, because this is all a house of cards. And the moment that one too many people starts driving like an idiot, it's all gonna tumble down. And I don't know if we've reached that point yet, but at certain points it really does feel like it. All right, sorry I've ranted for too long, but I just want the game to grow. I want iRacing to grow. I want people to understand the true value and charm of iRacing. And I don't think we're putting our best foot forward right now, because a potential person who wants to buy iRacing could be watching any video, any stream, anything of a race, and they can say, wow, that looks fun, or they can say, man, this looks stupid. And I think a lot of people who watch stuff right now are looking at it and saying, that looks stupid. But what do I know?